What is going on, guys? Monday, October the 14th, 2024. Frank Rock, Kerry Williams, House of Orange. We're going to talk some ball here tonight. On this day, back a few years ago, Mama Rock gave birth to a handsome baby boy, and that baby boy's on here to talk some football tonight. So if you're feeling generous tonight, super chats are available. Of course, we got the membership tiers. We've got the Patreon here as well. But thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Got the man with the plan right here. What were you on, about the 30, 40-yard line Saturday night?
Yeah, it was like in between the 20, I think it was like the 20-something yard line.
Okay.
It was behind where they started kickoffs. That's all I truly remember.
So tell us about your experience from now, I know I texted with you a little bit early in the game and then did later on when it got a little interesting, but tell us about your experience. How loud was it? What was the environment like?
Well, first off, is it your birthday?
It is my birthday.
Well, happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you.
Feeling old today?
Every day.
Every day.
Every day. But the good thing of it is the older I get, the better looking I get too. So
That's
it's just
true. That is,
it
true.
all goes. But
better
your
looking
experience,
today than I knew you. Yes, sir. My experience.
What's that now?
I was going to say better looking today than you were whenever I had you.
Yeah. About 10 years ago.
Yeah, something like that. Somewhere in the 10-year range.
Yeah, you know how it goes sometimes. It's just the way it is. But
yep.
But what about your experience Saturday night? What stood out about it? Was it everything you had been waiting for?
Yeah, I mean, it was everything you could ask for. It stinks that you had to wait until October to get a first SEC game in Neyland Stadium this season. That didn't really hit me until game day. I was like, you know what? Our first two SEC games were road games, so that was weird, especially considering the fact that we had a bye week in there as well. It was a weird feeling not having to get to go to a SEC home game until a few days into October, which stinks. I mean, there's nothing better than a September Florida Tennessee game where it's the third Saturday in September, and it's just an awesome atmosphere. And I was actually concerned about the weather because I was like, it's going to get cold because I don't do very well in the cold. And I was like, all week, I was planning it out. Like, I'd go outside at like 10 o'clock and I'd be like, this is the end of the game. This is what it's going to feel like. But thankfully, it felt a whole lot warmer on Saturday night than I was expecting. But overall, it was everything you could have asked for. Being in the student section, it dulls the game, but the atmosphere overall is better. You miss a lot of the action, unfortunately, just considering what all's going on. Just trying to keep your seat. You can't leave in the student section. Like, I can't get up and go to the bathroom. I can't get up and go get me a drink if I wanted one because my seat's gone whenever I get back. So other than that, it was awesome. I mean, it was electric. It was so loud. Like, I went to the Ole Miss game, and that's still probably one of my favorite games in Neyland was the Ole Miss loss, just considering the environment was. But it was awesome on Saturday night. The first half, I'll be honest, I was disappointed in the first half. And I think I texted you. I didn't think it was that loud. Like, the other decibel meter said it was 120-something decibels, but to me, it didn't really feel loud. And then the third quarter started, and then it was a madhouse. Like, I had a headache all night. I had a headache when I woke up on Sunday morning because of the game, because of how loud it was. Second half, it was 124 to 126 decibels basically every time they had the ball. And everybody's going crazy. So it's the total college football atmosphere that I hope everybody gets to experience in their lifetime. If you have a chance to go this Saturday, I know it's going to cost a lot of money to get a ticket to the game. Thankfully, I have a student ticket, so I only got to pay $20. I've already paid it. So my butt's in a seat on Saturday. I do have to get there early just to make sure I'm kind of in my spot. But if you can go Saturday, if you're close, it's going to hurt the bank account, but it'll be a once-in-a-lifetime experience, even if it's a one-quarter game. Even if worst-case scenario happens and they blow us out after the first quarter, which I absolutely do not think is going to happen. If it's like how kind of like Georgia does to us, blows us out, the first quarter is worth it. The first quarter last year against Georgia was worth it. I mean, that was one of the best experiences I've ever had was that first quarter. I mean, it was it was louder against Georgia than it was on Saturday night against Florida. Like that Georgia game, I got memories of that first quarter, just to how insane that was. That was like a frat party, was essentially what it was, which was a great experience. So if you can make it this Saturday, yet again, it will hurt the bank account. I'm sorry. I have looked at the ticket prices. I think it's ridiculous, but it is a once in a lifetime experience. If we win, you will never regret it. Just like 2022.
Yeah, and it's an orange out.
Yep.
It is an orange out now too that they announced, so that's pretty cool. But it seemed was when Florida was backed up and they played the spooky Rocky Top.
I didn't hear it.
Got the false start. You couldn't hear it?
I didn't hear Spooky Rocky Top, no.
It was that how loud it
was?
was?
It was too loud. I couldn't hear it.
Because
I didn't know until
they got they played that. They got the false start, and then then they come back with third down for what? And it just
they played that
it sounded
a few
like the
times.
place was rocking.
Yeah. The thing is about third down for what though is they turn the speaker up whenever they play that one. So I heard that one, but they played that one probably 3 times, which I've noticed they pull it out for the night games. They pulled it out for Ole Miss. They pulled it out for South Carolina last year, and then they pulled it out again against Florida. So it's a night game kind of thing.
I know it was just 2 years ago was the first time they had brought it back in a while against Florida, because there was some reason they pulled it, and then they normally have a pretty good little variety of it. They went to something for a bit that just wasn't doing it. And then it was it
was like Welcome to the Jungle or something like that. Just this totally overplayed song.
Yeah, they did that. I think now they'll throw in some Metallica occasionally, some Beastie Boys.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Stuff pretty good and stuff. But let's see who we got in here. We got a few of them here. Rhonda, appreciate the happy birthday. Thank you so much. Miles, what's going on, man? Appreciate that. JL says GBO, and he says we should wear dark mode. I don't. I'm going to disagree on that one for Bama. I wish they would go in that game where it was home jerseys, both teams. Bama wear the red, Tennessee wears the orange every time. I wish they would do that.
Yeah.
I don't know why they won't. Actually, I don't know if it's an SEC thing, or I don't know if it's just the case of the ADs need to get together and do it. But so of course today, now I'll start with this one and kind of lead us in, but we'll get to Florida. Obviously, this is part of it, but was announced today. Keenan Pili is out for the year, ACL injury. That was the fear coming out of Saturday night. It just did I see that this is like the third time in 4 years the dude's been hurt for the year that he got hurt at BYU. And of course, last year he had the upper body injury that put him out for the year. And now this, I mean, that just sucks. That sucks for the guy, especially 7th year. But, you tweeted out about it today. Hopefully he will get a shot at the next level. When he went out, how did you think the linebackers played the other night in his place?
Actually, I don't get to make a lot of assumptions about the game whenever I'm attending it like that, just because I've got a lot of different factors I'm playing in. I mean, my left leg fell asleep during the game. I don't know how that happened just from standing, but I was sitting there trying to balance on one foot, trying to shake some stuff into my left leg to try to be able to stand. So I had some other factors playing there. But I thought I noticed the linebackers did really well. I thought they stepped up. I noticed, of course, I couldn't see that he was on crutches or that he left the game. That's just not something that I get to notice being there. But I did see that he just didn't come back in. And so I was like, okay, I hope it's not long term. I was kind of thought it would, considering the way that he walked off the field, which it took a long time for him to walk off the field. So I was like, it doesn't look good. But overall, I thought T-Lander did a great job. I thought that Carter did as good as he always does. I think that Perry did an okay job. I think you need Edwin Spillman to come back. And then also Jalen Smith's gotten a lot more playing time. He's played good. He had a lot more reps this past Saturday. I couldn't necessarily make a judgment call on him of how he played. I just saw him in there a lot. I didn't necessarily see him do anything. But overall, I thought the linebackers played great considering the situation.
What is Spillman's injury that he's been out the last couple of weeks with?
I have no idea.
I don't either. I was surprised to see him. I want to see him too, because One thing about it, we know Spillman. He will absolutely knock the crap out of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. I thought Arion Carter played really good
He
the
did.
other night. I know there were some times there were some assignments missed. I feel like I don't know who was in on those. I don't feel like it was Carter each time. I feel like when Carter was in, it was a little different. I think maybe when they rotated some, it was some of your maybe Perry or Smith, I think, missed some assignments. I mean, Carter could have too, for all I know, or T-Lander, but I thought both those guys played pretty well. I know I look at the PFF Pro Football Focus grades. Them things were garbage this week.
Yeah, they were pretty.
Because they were awful. I mean, because think about the game Boo Carter played too. Boo Carter played an awesome game. And they had him rated, the grade was in the backup range. It's like, give me a break. I mean, Omar Norman Lott had a sack and a half, and they gave him like a 40-something grade. I mean, come on, man. It's I thought Pierce was awesome the other night. But yeah, the linebackers, I mean, it's going to be some big shoes to fill with Keenan Pili because he was the guy with the headset. I think they said T-Lander took it over after Pili went out. So he'll be the one, I guess, now relaying all the signals and stuff when they go in. But I don't know, man. That's a tough one. But it's, it's like anything. It's next man up, unfortunately. That's what it has to be. So thoughts on the game. So overall thoughts. So I wanted to start with that because that is the big news of the game. But I know we can go a lot of different ways with this one. But overall thoughts. We'll just start. What did you like that you saw Saturday night? Obviously the win. I mean,
yeah, that's you can't ever take that for granted against Florida. And we said that every show prior to this. We said if we beat Florida by any score, it doesn't matter how we win. It's great because we beat Florida, and that's just something that we don't typically do in the past, no matter who the coach is. I mean, of course, you have to go defense first off. I mean, 12 tackles for loss against a SEC offensive line, and that's not a Florida offensive line that's like terrible. They haven't been depleted by injuries like Oklahoma had been. We just straight up dominated them, which that's amazing to see, especially considering the fact that we lost Pili. I just think it was a great performance considering they knew the season was on the line, that they had to step up where the offense wasn't. They knew if they didn't perform, the season was over. Like if they don't perform half of what they did, you lose, and the season's a wash at that point. Hopper would have a very hard time controlling the program if that case scenario happened, in my opinion. So that effort from the defense cannot be talked about enough because that defense on Saturday night could have saved their season for all we know.
Yeah, I agree with you. They made some big plays. I mean, what they have the fourth down stop, which they stopped a couple fourth downs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they had a few fourth down stands.
And you had the strip at the goal line, which was huge.
That was crazy.
That was huge. And how Mertz's knee did not go down. And it didn't. It was the right call on it. I'll tell you, man, if I was a Florida fan, I would have been livid. I would have been freaking livid.
Oh, yeah.
Napier, when he gets canned, he'll have earned it.
Yep. There was some very questionable decisions.
Well, they had the fourth and what they needed about the length of the football, and they had run that quarterback sneak, and then he's jet sweep. I mean, heck of a play by Ricky Gibson on that one, and Arion Carter helped set the edge on that one as well. But Gibson made a heck of a play. But I mean, I'm sitting there. Obviously, I loved it. We got it, but I'm like, what are you doing, boy? It's like, coaches don't understand math. They don't understand math.
Sometimes they don't.
No, it's mind-blowing to me how they don't freaking understand any math along the way. You hit a few of these comments here. Oh, how was the Morgan Wallen song accepted instead of Friends in Low Places?
I thought it was accepted really well. They just turned off the lights. It went dark, kind of paused for a second. They kind of slowly brought it up. The bad thing about that song is that it does take a second for it to like any singing to start happening. So nobody really knew what the song was going to be. You could tell it wasn't Friends in Low Places just by the start. I thought it was well, but then again, I'm in the student section. The majority of the kids in the student section like Morgan Wallen, of course, because he's close to our age. He's kind of our generation of country music star. So, of course, all the girls are screaming it, so I can't hear the old band in Section P that's pissed because they're not playing Garth Brooks anymore. But I thought it was accepted well. I know there's a lot of people that don't like it, but I mean, Friends in Low Places was washed. There was no connections to Tennessee other than the fact that he played a concert here. So I was happy to see it. A different song. Now, I wanted the Stroke. That would have been elite, which they did play. They played the Stroke twice on Saturday night. Both times were on, well, one I think was to start a drive, and the other was on third down. At Florida had the ball. Also would have loved to sing Copperhead Road. I mean, that's an obvious choice. The real fan base knows that one really well. But overall, I thought it was accepted good enough. It'll grow on people. They could have probably picked a few different Morgan Wallen songs that people actually truly know the lyrics to, that truly matches Tennessee, other than the way I talk. So I'm okay with it. It's better than Garth.
Yeah. I don't understand the logic, and I'm like you, the Stroke or Copperhead Road seems to me, because you're going to fire the crowd up. You want the crowd fired up in the fourth quarter. You don't want to put them to sleep with it. So I don't know a lot of Morgan Wallen stuff. I mean, I'm fine with him. I just don't listen to much country. But the Garth one, yeah, for sure that one, was definitely washed. I think. I mean, I guess they picked different moments to play the Stroke. Heck, when I went to Charlotte a few weeks ago and watched them play NC State, they played the Stroke at one point, and everybody's clapping to it then. It was kind of pretty cool. It's a pretty good point, though. When they wear the black, man, they do get fired up in them alternate uniforms. Always have, it seems like, whether it's smoky gray or that. How'd you think McCoy did fielding punts back there? I thought it was a mixed bag. And I don't like it. I don't like him being back there, your top guy.
That was one of the, from my angle, from my seat, I had a great vantage point of him receiving a few punts. I saw the one that he bobbled, which gave me a heart attack, that he dropped. Or I don't remember if he dropped it or if he just straight up bobbled it. And the other one, when it was fourth quarter, on the last drive we had prior to them scoring the game-tying touchdown, I didn't like that he kind of just let the ball come to him and it hit him in the upper chest face mask area. I really thought that ball was just going to bounce right off of him and go, because I was like straight. I mean, it was straight. I was straight at his side angle. So that terrified me whenever I saw the ball coming straight down, basically towards his face mask. So I was like, well, here we go again. It was one of those kind of situations. I don't know. I think Boo needs to return punts, like JL just said, or even Mike Matthews. I don't like McCoy back there. He made an awful decision, and I mean a terrible decision, to not return that one punt when he had nobody within 20 yards and he called a fair catch. I'm still pretty upset about that one. So I think just let Mike Matthews or Boo Carter return the punts from now on. I mean, you're letting Mike Matthews return the kickoffs, so why not let him return punts too?
Yeah. I mean, because you're not doing anything with him at wide receiver. So,
no,
I mean,
you're just putting him in there and not throwing him the ball.
Yeah. Let's see. Thank you, Devin. Another sad performance from the offense for the most part, but the defense held up. The Peely news sucked. Thank you, Vols Titans 8. Appreciate that. Cam Selden, MIA again. I know Bishop kind of overtaken. Bishop has been missing blocks.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Downs.
He's missed some blocks, and that should get rid of some playing time. If you did it for Sampson and you took away Sampson's playing time, I think it's time that you start switching up Bishop a little bit more because of that.
Yeah, I think Selden's got elite speed. I mean, maybe I'm just high on him and stuff, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't have anything else on that one. I would have Selden in. I would like to see Peyton Lewis a little bit as well. But, I mean, obviously go run Sampson. I mean, Sampson's got a chance to set a lot of records this year, actually. So, let's see. Did you notice Tony Mosier says, I was at the game. Nico had 3 receivers open for touchdowns. I know he missed 2. So he didn't throw the other. Offensive line, I think the line got a little better as the game went along.
It did.
I thought Nico made a lot of errors the other night too.
He did.
Let's see. Boo played a lot of outside linebacker in some sets.
He was out there a lot.
I know Christian Harrison was out, so he played more. Boo had a heck of a game. He had a heck of a game. This was one, we'll talk about this here in a little bit. Tony says he'll be at the game. I don't know if we can keep Bama's offense under 20. I don't know, man. I mean, Bama and us have been a lot alike, though. Bama was, honestly, we were lucky to win Saturday night, to be honest with you, in respect.
They were even more luckier to win, in my opinion.
Yeah, they were lucky to win as well. I mean, it was just both of us, same thing. I don't know what to think about this coming week. I agree. Boo should put Boo back there if he's as good as they say. Pierce is fierce. That's a fact. Napier was, he was not on it.
He never is on it.
No. Let's see here. Let's see what we got. Left a comment saying, be more than happy to eat crows. Vols won. I'm glad I did that. I have to done. So, yeah, exactly. It wasn't pretty, but hey, a win over Florida is a win over Florida. I mean, that's I shook my head at it too, but it is what it is. It's I'm never gonna complain about a win over Florida. Do you think here, and we can kind of get a little bit more? There's good comments here. I thought Nimrod had a rough game the other night.
He did.
He had, because if he had a miss on that last drive of regulation, that very well might have set him up to win that football game and not have to go to overtime.
Yeah, we would have still had to gain like 15 more yards after that catch, but if considering he just caught it, went down. Of course, if it was a throw on target, he catches the ball and he runs. I think that's, of course, I still think if it hits your hands, if it hits both your hands, you should catch the ball. So that one was disappointing. I know the other one, a few plays after that, I was at the perfect angle on that play where Nico just straight up, I don't know if it's a miscommunication or what, but Nimrod and Brew McCoy were both open. Brew shifted right. Nimrod shifted left. Nico threw it where Nimrod was, and that was too short for Brew, and it was out of reach for Nimrod. So it was just a total miscommunication on that one. And it was really disappointing to see because they were both wide open from my vantage point. I mean, it was like I had the perfect angle of that one, and he just missed both of them.
Was it the one toward the sideline, the deep ball toward the sideline?
No, this was the one in the last. It was should have been in the fourth quarter where it was Brew and Nimrod were in the same area, and they were at like the numbers, and Nico threw it over there to him, and he basically skipped off the ground in between them, and they were both wide open. Nimrod didn't have anybody on him, but he shifted back towards the line of scrimmage. Bruce shifted the other way, and Nico just completely whiffed on the throw, in my opinion, because they were both wide open, and he managed to. I don't know how he managed to miss both of them, but he did on that one. So that one was pretty disappointing.
Yeah, Bama's got some holes. They have some holes this week for sure. I mean, I won't be surprised if they win, but they definitely, they're not unbeatable either, as we've seen. I agree with this. I think Texas, I'm curious to see what comes out Texas-Georgia game Saturday night, because Georgia, I mean, Mississippi State, it seemed like kind of hung with them. I mean, I don't know that it was necessarily that close, but they were within they only lost by 10 points, and they put some points on Georgia the other night. Texas looks pretty good.
They look really
I think
good.
they're on another level, but we'll find out Saturday night when they play Georgia. That'll be a big one. I did love this too. Yeah, I absolutely loved Heupel's demeanor. You can tell he's not happy about the offense, but they're saying that they're close. They say that they are really close. So that's I'll take the word on it. Maybe they're just trying to make us feel good about it. But there were some things I saw I liked. the other
Mhm.
night. You talked about the defense earlier. I thought there were some times that, I mean, obviously Dylan Sampson. Where would we be without Dylan Sampson? Dude's the man. Um, Nico is he made some good throws, but I just wonder where his confidence level is at. They seem to say
I
it's not
know.
down, but there's just throws he's not making that he was making earlier in the year, and I don't know. They ran him a little bit more the other night, which I liked. I mean, that offense is it's just hard to believe for me. And I know it's a difference in competition, but a month ago this was like a juggernaut, could not be stopped, and now it's like Jeremy Pruitt level of offense.
Mhm.
Um, I think it'll get better, but I don't know if it'll be this week or if it'll be, maybe they clean some things up during the bye week, which I absolutely hate having 2 bye weeks, but
Yeah.
yeah, I guess it is what it is. But I don't know. I don't know. Is Nico, did you notice a lot? Did he have open guys and he's just not seeing them? Or, are they run? So with your vantage point too, were these plays that were longer plays to develop? Was guys just not open? He just didn't have time. What was a combination of all of it? I mean,
I think it was a little bit of everything, but I'm gonna put more of it on Nico. There was a lot of times where it was his fault. There was a lot of guys that I felt like were open. The deep balls that he didn't connect on, that was a lot of it was his fault. He either overthrew the guy, led him in the wrong direction. Um, there was the play down the sideline to Brazel where, I mean, I get that you could say that's the perfect throw, but then again, he had to jump for the ball and he was pushed out of bounds. It just, you saw it with Hendon where he could just step back in the pocket. He didn't even really think about it. He just threw the ball and it was just barely on the other side of the numbers. And Nico's had those throws, but he's shifting it too far one way. He's either completely overthrowing the guy or he's throwing it too far out of bounds. Um, and you see him a lot of times whenever he's the deep shots across the middle. I mean, against Squirrel, when Squirrel's running in a straight line trying to catch that ball, running straight down the field. So I feel like it's not been there necessarily with Nico. I think it's very fixable. It is extremely fixable. I feel like it's a chemistry thing. It's a minor tweak. Like it was so close. We were so close on Saturday night. And honestly, I think it was so close that you make that adjustment this week and you make 2 plays in the first half of over 40 yards on passes. Like I think you're that close to getting the plays because all you need is one. We literally saw that with Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton whenever Heupel first got here in 2021. You didn't hit it on a deep ball against Bowling Green. You didn't start it against home against Pitt, and then you hit one deep ball, and then the floodgates opened up. Then you went to Gainesville, and in the first quarter, you're hitting Javonte Payton down the sideline for a deep touchdown. Like all it takes is one. And I think Heupel schemes up a perfect play on Saturday in the first quarter or within the first 5 minutes of the second quarter to get a guy open just to get Nico comfortable. Because honestly, I believe if he sees one deep ball get completed, it changes. To me, he changes. But then again, that's
yeah.
my opinion, and I don't necessarily know as much as I probably should.
No, I think it's a pretty valid point. I mean, like you said, you hit one, and now it's like, okay, all
Yeah.
right, I can hit these again, and we're rolling. It said too, Bama's secondary has struggled, so I
Mhm.
think there'll be some opportunity there. Um, yeah, I would still like to see. I like the rollouts. Seems like he does pretty good on the rollouts.
Mhm.
I laughed in overtime when they got the ball. All of a sudden, they get aggressive and go fast. I'm like,
Yeah, I was like, "What in
we
the
just
world
need a
was
field
that?"
goal. What are you
Yeah,
doing? We just
it was
need a
the first
field
play
goal.
we threw the football. First play
Yeah.
RPO, sling it out to the sideline. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like whenever he pulled it, I about had a heart attack.
Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing? All you need is field goal
Yeah,
right here. Run it 3 times and get the field goal or something. But, um, you know, we'll see, man. This dude's pissing me off. So this guy can leave for a little bit. It's real hilarious, but let's see here. Let me get my wits back about me here just a minute. We'll see where it's at, but punt return game the other night. So towards the end, I've seen some people, I didn't see it on TV. Was there some blocking the backs that weren't called on Florida's punt returns?
I couldn't see it, but then again, Florida wasn't penalized, just like Arkansas wasn't penalized. Has there been a live ball penalty against Florida or Arkansas, against Arkansas or Florida? I haven't seen one.
Okay. I don't remember an offensive line getting a holding call against us in ages. It's like it was that way last year.
Yeah.
I laughed when John Campbell's trying to plead his case out there on that one call, and they showed it back, and he had a hold of the guy big time. It's like,
he inside the shoulder
got
pad.
No beef. It's now you put some stuff too. Talking about Lance Hurd, everybody was on him, but I've seen numerous people talk about how after that first quarter he played some pretty good football. I mean, there was some. I know on that Dylan Sampson touchdown, one of them, he got out, and
that was scary.
Yeah,
running down the field like that.
Yeah, so is that what you kind of saw? That he played some pretty good football, really, after that first quarter?
Yeah, but then again, I think he had to. If he continued down the track he was going, he's done. He's benched. Like, there's only so much you can allow of that. I understand that Heupel likes to ride out his guys, just like coaches in the past have. But when you're playing that bad, you kind of got to get them out of there. But I felt like, I went back through and I watched each series in the second half last night when I got off work, and I just specifically watched the offensive line, and specifically Lance Hurd. I thought he did a much better job. Run block's not necessarily there. I thought he looked a lot better. Pass protection was definitely better. That's what he actually graded better in pass protection he did run blocking, which is opposite of what he had been, which was a good sign. He still did get beat once or twice in pass protection, and one of them led to it was a huge incompletion late in the game where the guy just cut right under him and he got Nico's peripheral, and that caused Nico to throw an incompletion, which was huge at that point of the game. But otherwise, he showed mobility. He showed me everything that I needed to see of like he can get it done. There were some times, there was the one that I posted where the guy was coming off the edge and he shuffled over there to get to him, and that wasn't something that we saw before. And there was another play that I didn't post that I still have in my phone. It's the defensive end. He's coming at the left guard, and Lance Hurd's standing there. He's keeping an eye on him and keeping an eye on the perimeter. And the guy on the left guard jumps over to him, and he pushes him off, shoves him back over there, and then he gets the guy off the edge. The guy coming off the edge. So I thought he did much better in the second half. Then again, I've heard that Dylan Sampson did get on the offensive line, which is much needed because everybody on the offensive line needs criticism right now except Cooper Mace.
You think he played pretty good game, Cooper?
Yeah, he was the only one I thought that played a good game. Even Carrick didn't play good, and he's been a guy that's graded out good so far. Spraggins, he's disappeared, which makes no sense to me. Like, it doesn't make it. He's confusing. Like, he was this star in 2022. Is like, okay, he's this great blocker. He's a huge part of the team, and now it's like he's just kind of an offensive lineman, which is weird. And then John Campbell, there's people saying they want him to move over to left tackle, and I'm like, if you go back through and you watch the games, John Campbell's actually getting beat a lot more than Lance Hurd is. There's linebackers that are totally giving John Campbell the business. They're just running him over. Like, Rocky, I want you to go back and watch John Campbell. He's just getting pushed around at times by guys that are much smaller than he is, and that's pretty concerning to me. But I think we should hit on that. We should hit on that. Like, do you think that Dane Davis and Larry Johnson need to get a lot more playing time? Or
I would. I know they struggled some against Oklahoma as well, but that was, I think you got to Campbell for sure. I think Campbell. I I've not seen much out of Campbell. To
It's
be
too
honest
much.
with you,
He's too much of a troublemaker.
he just, yeah. I mean, it's just not. I think I would have to see Johnson, Larry Johnson, a little bit, and Dane Davis. I don't think they got a whole lot of snaps the other night. Maybe not even 15, but I think you got to mix it up a little bit in there. But the fact that the offensive line, man, just there's going to be questions that have to get answered at the end of this year if that line doesn't improve, because this is a veteran line. It is a veteran line across the board, other than Lance Hurd. There's just questions that's going to have to be answered on that, because we're not seeing, I don't feel like we're seeing development. Again, I thought coming in, I looked at this line, I was like, this is a veteran line. Should be pretty good as long as we don't get injuries. And it's, I don't know. Maybe Nico's making them look worse than they are, because I think it's a combination of all of it. But I think Nico has really struggled with decision making, especially the last couple of weeks. I would even go back to the Oklahoma game as well. He's had a few pretty rough games in a row right now. And, everybody's saying that it was going to be a step up, myself included, from Joe Milton to him. It's been a step back, and which really surprises me. And I think the potential is there, but we're just not seeing it. We're just not seeing it out of him. And, it's just, I know the competition's different, but it's amazing to me how different he's looked. And that Florida defense was not that great coming in either, is the bad thing about it. I don't know. Trying to think, what else do we want to hit on the Florida game? We've talked a little while. I mean, really my main plays I had written down was pretty much all from the defense. It's, but the thing with the defense that gets me, 2 weeks in a row, they've given up a score late that's got them beat against Arkansas, and then got the tie against Florida because your safeties lost where they were at on that play when Lagway stepped up. I mean, he threw it right between two safeties. Brooks was probably where he needed to be because he was around the goal line, but Turrentine, he's 5 yards deep in the end zone. So, I mean, that's they've got to clean their end of game defense up, because that's kind of concerning 2 weeks in a row that happened. But, I had Boo playing a good game. I had Arion Carter, I thought, played a heck of a game. Of course, Pierce was awesome. Some of the plays I looked at too. I mean, Ricky Gibson, that fourth down stop, I thought the corners were both really good the other night. Bryson Eason had that tackle for loss in overtime that was big, that moved them back. I mean, it was really all defense. And then, of course, Sampson, did his thing as well. But, they had 6 penalties. You talked about earlier Florida's line not being that bad of a line. They'd only given up 5 sacks coming into the year, and then we got them for 3. So that's a pretty good night. So that's a pretty good night right there as far as I'm concerned. And, that's nobody scored over 20 on them yet. And you just got to get that offense going. This is going to be a heck of a team right now.
I think all you have to do is get the offensive line to start giving you a few plays where they can actually block. I mean, I truly believe that if they just get a little bit more consistency there, give Nico an extra half a second, and Nico just necessarily starting out the game good. I think if the offensive line starts out good, Nico starts good, you'll have a lot of success. I mean, I think the fumble in the first quarter that I missed, the usher was trying to get me to show her my ticket because the student section row was messed up and I barely even had room, even though I was pushed down multiple seats. So there's a whole story. So I was really upset that I missed that play. I just looked up and Florida had the ball. I was like, what happened? So I didn't really see what happened there. But Nico, man, it's just, man, he's got to be better in my opinion. And I think one of the things is he's got to get the ball out faster. And you also have to have a lot more of the plays that you saw in the second half where he rolls out of the pocket. And it's
Mhm.
also on the wide receivers. Just catch the ball, man. Like he's hitting
Yeah.
you in the hands all the times. I get that they're hard catches, but make the catch. Like the one on Squirrel, the deep ball on Squirrel. I understand that one. Like you would want to see Squirrel dive for that ball and catch that ball. But then again, if he does have a messed up collarbone, I'm okay with it. It's just, I don't know. I think Tennessee wins the game on Saturday night by a very big margin if the second half play calling was the same exact as the first half play calling. I think that there's execution happens at some point throughout the game, and I think that you score a lot more points. Just considering the second half was light and day, or not and day different to me. I thought the second half was what we missed from Josh Heupel, and he kind of realized that at halftime, like, hey, my job isn't on the line here, but my hot seat, the button's getting clicked on if I lose to Florida. And that was what I told a lot of people on Saturday night. If he lost to Florida, seat's not even warm yet. You just press the on button. And that's all it was. It was a start. So he knew at halftime. And you noticed the team knew at halftime too. That second half was the biggest half of football that Josh Heupel has played at Tennessee.
Do you think he realized it prior? Well, you said obviously at the half, but do you
Yeah.
think that 4th and 1 call from their own 10 was an indication of, yeah, it's time for us to turn it on?
Yeah, he knows. I mean, you weren't going to win that game if you didn't make some kind of adjustment. We noticed that. They went down 10
It was a
nothing.
terribly stupid call, but
I
I mean,
loved it.
hey, I liked
I
it because
loved it
they
with
got it.
everything in me.
You what?
I loved it with everything in me. If we would have got stuffed, I would have been okay with it.
It was gutsy. It was very gutsy. And then is that to drive Nico through the interception though? A few plays later.
I want to say yes.
I'm thinking it is the
Which,
general
gosh,
here.
dude,
He should have
my
checked. I mean, he threw it into what, 4 people?
my
It was a terrible throw.
my vantage point on that play, man. From where I was sitting, I could see Nico's eyes. I saw the safety. I watched the safety shift over, and I said, "Oh crap!" I didn't say "oh crap," but you know what I said.
Yeah.
You saw the safety shift over, and then he intercepted the ball. I was like, "Oh, I saw that one coming," because he stared him down. Nico stared him down. I I could see directly into Nico's face mask him just staring down the wide receiver, and the safety just right across. I was like, you could see it as soon as he released the ball from where I was sitting that it was going to be intercepted. So that one was rough because there was 4 guys in the area. I saw all 4 of them. So that one was not. That one was not pretty.
The ironic thing about that too was because of the Music City Bowl in 2010, we finally got our retribution because that 10-second runoff penalty is probably not happening if not for the 2010 Music City Bowl against North Carolina. So, because I was sitting there like they got the penalty and they had no timeouts. I was like, that should end the half. And then they said, yeah, it was the 10-second runoff. I mean, it's just those things, how that Florida they killed themselves at times. But I mean, our defense stepped up. That was big, though, that we only went in down 3-0. That was pretty big. And then, of course, Mertz for them when I saw he's out for the year with a knee injury. Hate that for him. That sucks.
Yeah, that's awful.
How do you think that changed Florida's offense? Do you think it hurt them any at all, or
not the running out the game or running out the first half?
No, when Mertz went out.
Oh, when Mertz went out, I thought it helped them.
Yeah.
I thought Lagway was better, in my opinion. I don't see why they continue to went with Mertz. I think that Billy Napier is the man that he is. Lagway's a much better quarterback. Mertz hasn't got the job done. I get that they love him. I mean, he has a great completion percentage, but I don't know. Lagway's a star. I think he's an NFL quarterback, in my opinion. There's a great warm up for Milroe this week. So to me, I mean, I think the Florida offense is better with Lagway at the helm than it is Mertz. They move the ball pretty well, in my opinion, better than the majority of teams we've seen so far. They had more success against us than I believe that Arkansas did throughout a majority of the game. You didn't totally stop Florida like we did against Arkansas a few times. So I don't know. I mean, I think Lackway puts them in a great position, and I think their offense
Yeah.
played better because he was in the game.
Now I know of one time they hit Sampson out of the backfield, but I think it was Squirrel missed the block
Yeah,
and
it was.
Sampson got
Yeah.
taken down. I would like to see it a little bit more on that as well. I'm trying to think here on this and think there's going to be some plays we haven't seen yet.
Absolutely.
You think so?
Absolutely.
I think you got to break something out next week for sure. Here's my concern right here. It seems like Nico, he's having trouble holding on to the football.
Yeah, it's the
He's
fumbles.
throwing interceptions. Yeah, I think he's rattled. I think he's rattled right now. And yeah, I'm kind of right here as well. I'm not as confident as Heupel and them are. I really don't. And I wonder if Oklahoma and Arkansas, this is a pretty good one, shell shock Nico because he's gotten hit a lot. I'll just go highlight this comedian right here. So I don't know that we said he was. Well, we were pretty high on Nico coming in. I expected a lot more out of him this year for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's. Do you think if I might ask you, sorry, do you think if we'd have scored on that first drive, it'd have been a totally different game?
Yes.
I think that was an indication of what kind of game it was going to be.
Yeah.
When that happened, it was like, yep, here we are. This is funny. A Florida fan, you lost there, bud. You lost.
You
All
lost.
right, we played bad again and still beat you.
I think Sam's a little confused about what I was talking about, Josh Heupel, but that's okay.
Let me get down here to it. I'm a little bit behind.
Sam just didn't understand what I was explaining, apparently.
Let me see here. Somebody asked about Peely. ACL injury is out for the year on that. The 3rd and 18 touchdown, that sucked. That's kind of surprised me. Was it soft cover? I was trying to remember if they were rushing.
It was very soft.
Yeah. I mean, that's why people continue to do that blows my mind on it. That's like the Bama game at the end when I was watching when South Carolina got the onside kick. They went guns a-blazing after Sellers, and that was the right call because he didn't have time to do anything with it. That's what you've really got to do at the end. I mean, I would rather if they score, being aggressive, so be it. But we've seen it so many times. Teams sit back, and you give these quarterbacks time, they're going to pick you apart. It just is what it is. Yeah, we played pretty good in overtime. Man, I thought we played. I thought it was like we were laughing about it. What are we doing? All of a sudden, we get fast and aggressive in overtime. I mean, I did think they were more aggressive with the play calls for the most part the other night. Yeah. But I'm kind of like you. It took a little bit. And, I mean, especially when the Boo Birds come out pretty early. Yeah. And it was, it was much better at times, I thought. But there were times I thought Nico hit some pretty good plays, hit some good throws across the middle. He did some where he stares his guys down a lot. I do notice that. Yeah. But when he went to his second look a couple times, he looked good on it. He's just, I don't know. They've got to, I still think they got to do something more to help him get comfortable. The rollouts, like we said, were good. The quick stuff that they did in overtime was good. That's more of their game. You start hitting that, then somebody's going to bust loose, and you're going to be able to hit them. That's Tennessee's game. Is this Kerry's credibility's on the hot seat?
I think he misunderstood my statement on Josh Heupel on the hot seat. I mean,
if Josh Heupel would have lost that football game, Tennessee fans would have been livid.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
a lot of goodwill.
The button gets flipped on. It's not even warmed up yet. It's not anything. It's just you're at the neutral point. He was cold going into the game. It just barely gets past neutral of it's coming. Like you lose to Florida, you're 7-5 at the end of the season. Yeah. And there's no doubt about that in my mind. You lose to Bama, you lose to Georgia, and there's a really good possibility that you lose to Vanderbilt. And who had those kind of seasons? Butch Jones did. So Josh Heupel would have a whole lot to prove next season with a team that currently does not have an offensive line outside of David Sanders Jr. So I wouldn't say that if he lost to Florida on Saturday night, to me, by no means is he even close to the hot seat. The button gets flipped on, but in my eyes, the direction is headed one way, and it would take a whole lot to make it turn back and go the other.
I mean, I was texting buddies of mine, and we were like, yeah, if he loses this football game, we may know we don't have the guy down here. He won. I'm fine with it. I'm fine. They found a way to win. And I think we're the same way. By no means do we want Josh Heupel gone, but it's the fact of the matter. If they would have lost that football game to that Florida team that's not very good in Neyland Stadium, when this was a juggernaut team at the beginning of the year, now all of a sudden they're having trouble scoring. People were going to be upset. People were going to be upset with it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what it takes to get them going. But the offensive performance for 3 games in a row now has been subpar. And, that in year 4 is concerning to me. And I know we got a redshirt freshman. I know it. I know he's going to make mistakes. But he seems to me, I don't know. I'll be curious to see what he looks like this week. But in the last 3 games, he's regressed each game to me. I think he's played worse every game. And, the talent is there. The talent is there. I don't know how they get him comfortable. I don't know the answer. I know you don't pull him for Gaston Moore. I mean, there's times I wonder if maybe you give him a possession to watch, see what he's seeing. I don't know. But that could be a confidence killer too. So it's probably not the move to make. I think this right here, I think he needs to run more. He made a mistake on the fumble that was on him. But I would like to see it too, because he can run. But the only bad thing is, it seems like every time he takes off, our line gets called for holding on it.
True.
So,
That's true.
Offensive line's given 2 to 3 seconds. That's it. So, let's see. Yeah, I don't shut. No way. There is no way, because they point blank said coming into the year, it wasn't going to be a cutback playbook, and that's exactly what it's been. Let's see here. Fumble ice. First drive was good until the fumble. Dang, that is 3 straight starting court. Well, the Oklahoma quarterback got benched, though, didn't he? Jackson Arnold, they just –
yeah.
I mean, he could have gotten hurt, I guess, but let's see. Vanderbilt's looking pretty good. Vanderbilt's looking pretty good. See, they lost to Missouri, which you'd said they blew that game. I can't remember who else beat them.
Georgia State.
Freaking Georgia State. They
played at Georgia State too. I don't know why they thought that was a good decision.
Yeah. No, I don't think he meant that the seat got hot because they beat Florida. He's talking about
see how you understand how that.
If he would have lost to Florida, then there would have been some pressure on him.
That's not even pressure. It's just the button gets turned on. It's not even. It's not even over 70 degrees yet. You're still sitting at a cool 55 degrees, which is still really comfortable. It's just it's a step in the wrong direction. Is essentially all it is.
Crowd had to have served a big piece the other night, and that crowd will be rowdy this weekend too.
Oh, this week! Got me excited thinking about it right now. It's gonna be crazy on Saturday night.
Let's see. Now Tennessee. Yeah, they had a big time. Did you see the recruits at the game by chance?
No, I didn't see any of the recruits.
I think down there.
There may have been there's a possibility some of the baseball recruits are with the baseball players because they were right next to me in the student section. Because AJ
the
Russell
recruiting weekend was insane for all the sports. Football had 70. Basketball had a couple big time guys. Baseball had a bunch of big time guys. Lady Vols had 3 big time players. I'm sure the other sports probably did too. I mean, it was just a collection of talent that was just unbelievable this weekend. And it it just shows you what's going on down there right now. A lot
Did you
of
see
people
the
still
baseball thing? That there was 5 projected first-round draft picks that Tony had on campus?
Yeah. I think I'd counted over 10 guys that I think it was Ben McKee that had put it out. And most of them, were like, what, the kid out of California is number 5 overall according to Perfect Game. There was Tomei, one of his teammates that's ranked pretty high. Yeah, it was just ridiculous talent. I mean, it's guys that they're probably not going to make it to campus. But, I mean, who knows? There's guys that people thought a lot of the current class that's freshmen were going to get drafted, and a lot of them they would have gotten drafted, but they stuck to what they wanted, and they're on campus. So, this is interesting that Florida, Bama, and Kentucky, all three straight games in a row. And you brought up the point earlier. I don't like it that the first SEC game is not until October.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
And I'm over the Kent State Chattanooga games. I honestly wish SEC go to a 10-game conference schedule. It'd be knockdown, drag out.
Yeah.
And then, play 2 teams from Power 4 or something. That's what I would like to see. But I know your mid-major schools and stuff. Or I'd like to see play Memphis again.
Yeah,
I'd like to see play Memphis.
Yeah.
I think that'd be good.
I don't understand the late season one. I think that one needs to go. The November one, that one's got to go. I think you can. It's acceptable. Yeah, it's acceptable to play 2 teams. I think a season at this point. I think that's the best thing possible to play a team like that first week of the season, because prior to this season, if you lost the first game of the season, you're basically done. Like, you got to win 11 straight games, no matter who you play. So I think the first game should be a cupcake. The other game, I mean, that's okay. I like that game in case you played your first game against like a team from a different conference and you need to play an in-school team. Like, you see Tennessee rotate between like Chattanooga and ETSU and UT Martin and those kind of schools. Like, support your local colleges, in my opinion. I think that's huge for those programs. That's the one thing I love about it is, like, you can keep, like, the SEC schools can keep the smaller schools like afloat just because they come and play us and get their butt whooped in football. It's because they get so much money to come get their butt whooped in football that it provides a whole lot to their athletic programs.
Yeah. I think this is a pretty good I agree with this one. Those games like Chattanooga and Kent State, I mean, Nico plays a half and out, and the better competition was, gets NC State. We saw him. He made some mistakes against NC State, better competition.
Yeah.
But it was stuff I thought was pretty easy to fix. And now we've gotten into SEC play. It's hit another level.
Think if he and the offensive line would have played the whole game against Chattanooga, I think they may have died. I mean, considering how hot it was, it would have been brutal if they would have had to play that whole game.
Yeah, that was that noon game, wasn't it? So,
yeah, it was like,
I totally wouldn't want the SEC to go to 10 games and then all the rest stay at 8. Now, I wish, Big 10, Pac-12, ACC, all a 10-game conference schedule and then play 2 out-of-conference games. That was the 2020 year, and they played the 10-game schedule. I thought it was cool. It was big boy football every week. And, thank goodness it got us rid of Jeremy Pruitt, too. That was people on here know what I thought about him. I never liked him from the get-go. I obviously pulled for him because he coached for Tennessee, but I thought he was a bum from the get-go, actually. And I was thrilled to death when they got rid of him.
I think it's crazy. I still think that's crazy. They basically fired him mid-game.
I think it was, too. Because it was that last game that it come out about the allegations.
It was the A&M game. I was at that game.
Of course. Yeah, I remember doing a video on the other channel I was on the next day video, and we got some big views on it. But I'd said on there, he's gone, done. And people lit into me saying I was stupid and didn't know what I was talking about. It's like, just wait and see. They're not revealing that if they're not looking to get rid of him. If Jeremy Pruitt would have won 7 or 8 games that year, you wouldn't have heard a thing about those allegations.
No.
Or if he would have been winning. The fact that he wasn't made it pretty easy to get rid of him there. But anything else we got on Florida? Anything that I've forgotten about?
Nope.
All right. So Florida, we wrapped that one up. And did I see it right? Heupel is him and Nealon are the only two to win back-to-back home games as a coach against Florida.
Since Fulmer, yeah.
Fulmer never won back-to-back home games against them.
Games. He may have been then. I'm not sure because I'm not sure of the track records of those coaches in the Florida series. All I know is everybody that's coached for UT's just gotten beat by Florida, and that's the only thing I know. So it's nice to see the Heupels beat Florida back-to-back home games. I don't care how bad those two teams were. Tennessee beat Florida, so I'll always be grateful for that.
A win over Florida is a win over Florida. You take it. I mean, I didn't necessarily love what I saw, but I loved the scoreboard at the end.
Me too.
I do know that. That is Majors. The Majors one's interesting because technically Majors was still the head coach in 90. I think it was 92, but he was out. He'd had some kind of surgery. And Fulmer was the interim, and Fulmer beat, or maybe it was 93. I can't remember now which it was, but Majors had beat him like 45-3. And then 2 years later, it's when Heath Schuler was quarterback in Tennessee, and Fulmer was the interim coach then. But Fulmer or Majors, so technically Majors' team beat Florida twice, but he wasn't the coach that second time. Fulmer was the interim on it. It was, I guess it was 92. It was right around that because you had Schuler as a quarterback that year and the next year, and then it was when Peyton and those guys come in. It's supposed to be Jerry Colquitt take it over, and then Jerry Colquitt gets injured like first drive against UCLA. Awful. It was awful. Dude had waited his turn, and they said he was a pretty good quarterback too, and then done. Knee injury, done for Tennessee career over at that point. Yeah, we'll put a wrap. I mean, looking at, I think we got to see more out of these receivers. I mean, Brew didn't even have a catch the other night. Matthews is playing a little. I mean, that's kind of the one everybody wants to see right now. I mean, Squirrel 5 for 71, Brazel 3 for 49. And then Chaz Nimrod 1 for 16. Dante Thornton only 1 for 11. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know how much of it's wide receivers. It just seems like it's a little bit of everybody. Yeah. It really does. Oh, yes, a good. Who would you rather have back, Dooley or Pruitt? Jeez. I mean, if Dooley had not brought in those Sal Sinceri, he would have had a pretty good team. Like, if he just still had Justin Wilcox or somebody, or they were going to get Kevin Steele, and then what was it? Steele was Clemson's defensive coordinator, and in their bowl game, Clemson gave up like 70, and then they decided to go after Sal Sinceri. And Tennessee's offense was good that year. It was just they couldn't stop anybody. Let's see. Yeah, that's a lot of people lost at Pruitt when Kentucky blew him out. I was already out on him, but Dooley, worst coach in UT history. That's probably not. He was pretty rough. He was pretty bad. And I thought he was going to be I didn't like the hire, but his first year, I thought there were some signs he could be decent, but never happened. Never happened. So it is officially Bama week. Bama comes in, 7th? We dropped 3 places after winning, but Bama doesn't, even though they should have lost also. But it is what it is. I mean, I'm surprised Bama didn't move back to number 2 after, or maybe 3 since Oregon beat Ohio State. But what do you think Tennessee has some advantages this weekend, or out of what you've watched from Bama?
I mean, I watched the South Carolina game, and of course, just like everybody else in the nation, I turned on the TV whenever they lost to Vanderbilt. Still can't believe that happened. That's just incredible. Um, I don't know. Honestly, I can't tell you where Tennessee has an advantage against Bama, just considering they're all over the place and we're all over the place. This game Saturday could be a 6-3 final score, or both teams could score in the 40s. You honestly don't know what to expect at this point. I think that their offense and their defense is a great matchup. I think that one's you kind of know how that one's going to happen. Tennessee's going to get a lot of stops. Alabama's going to get move the ball at times because of Milroe, but their offense against their defense, we have no idea what's going to happen there. We don't know. Like that's to be determined at this point. Their defense has been all over the place. Vanderbilt moved the ball on them like it was nothing. South Carolina had a lot of success running the ball against them, and that was the only thing South Carolina could do was run the ball. And that's something that we know that Josh Heupel loves to do, especially last season and this season. So with a guy like Dylan Sampson, I mean, he could have 200 yards rushing in this game for all we know. I think, honestly, if I had to determine what wins and loses the game, like advantage-wise, it's the Tennessee offense against their defense, because I think that their offense against their defense is already a predetermined outcome, in my opinion.
I think we'll have – I mean, yeah, South Carolina ran it, which surprised South Carolina. I'll tell you, if South Carolina had a quarterback, they'd be – if they would have, like, had Spencer Rattler still, they'd be a pretty good football team.
I still don't know how South Carolina lost that game. I mean, you had all those chances. You had an onside kick. You had plenty of time to make it 20 yards to kick a field goal. It's just that was Shane Beamer, dude. I was furious. I started losing my voice before I even made the trip to the stadium because of that game. I mean, I was running through the house screaming after they got the onside kick, and then I'm screaming at the TV, "Why are you not taking a timeout, Shane Beamer? Why are you not spiking the football?" So I got a chewing on that one from my sister. So, but we won't comment on that.
Yeah, that was. I mean, Beamer he is what he is. He is what he is. It's just I don't know, but Bama brought the pressure. I mean, they did what they should.
They did
on that last drive, and they made Sellers. I mean, he ended up throwing an interception on it. This is freaking crazy right here. 3 SEC games, opponents been called for 2 live ball penalties.
I bet both of those were against Oklahoma. If I had to bet,
it's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. Blocks in the back.
Same thing happened last year. Like, it's just
blocks in the back, guys getting held. I mean, there were numerous instances at Arkansas, and I'm sure listen. I'm sure there's times Tennessee probably gets away with it too. Every team does, but still, man. The fact that Tennessee's the only one getting called for the penalties, give me a break, man. It's just insane. Like you said, last year, 1 live flag in 11 quarters. I remember Bama last year, it was none. And Tyler Barron got held on about every play.
Considering I was at that game and I saw a lot of those missed calls,
You went to Tuscaloosa last year?
Yeah.
Okay.
I sat through that. Yeah. That makes this week feel a little bit more special.
Yeah. Yeah, and you were there 2 years ago, right?
Yep, that was the Kerry getting choked out by a state trooper game.
Why did that happen? Why did you get chosen out of all the people?
Dude, I don't really have an idea. Like, we were all sitting there trying to get the goalpost down, and there was a gap, and I kind of like stepped up towards the goalpost. I mean, I wasn't even towards the bottom of it. I was like where they were jumping up. I guess he saw that I was going to try to jump up, which I was. I wasn't going to jump high enough to get the goalpost, but there was a thought in my mind. But I didn't even start to like move up. He just took a step forward to me and did this. And he had both hands on my neck, and he's just pushing me back. And I'm like locked eyes with him. He shoves me, and I fall down to one knee, and then he gets obliterated. They just shove him on the ground, and they're screaming at him and everything. So, and that's the reason why the goalpost came down. That is, because he choked me, he got shoved to the ground. And then 3 seconds later, you see the guy jump on the goalpost, and it starts to tilt down, and then they all pile on it because he was out of play at that point. He was the only person protecting it because they were trying to protect the camera, the precious CBS camera, which was stupid. They put that state trooper in that position, where he choked out a dude I was like 19 at the time, so like that was a bad situation for him. Like it could have went a lot worse. If I would have, I could have posted that everywhere on social media. I didn't. I saw the bright side of it. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was a great memory, but it could have went a lot of different directions. Considering there's more than enough evidence of him just double hands on my throat out of nowhere.
Yeah, I agree with Ron. I was actually for Alabama. I wanted Bama to come in with the one. I can't pull for South Carolina.
Because
I was there in 2022. That whole experience. Have I told you about that whole experience?
Yeah. I think you're forgetting this. I think you're forgetting a lot tonight because I told you we've talked multiple times that I went to Tuscaloosa last year.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't had any foreign substances or anything tonight either. It's just totally water in the cup. So yeah, unless my cup got spiked or something tonight, I don't know. But let's see where we're at. Hour and 12 in. We got 97 people in here again. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Biggest way, to help the channel share out the content. Of course, super chats are available. They do go to the channel, go back into the channel, help try to bring coverage content to you. All those are definitely appreciated as well. But
and it's the birthday boy tonight. So
yeah, tips are definitely welcome. No, they are used to go back into the channel for sure. As it does cost money to do some of this stuff, especially to get different sources. I wouldn't say sources, but like access. To follow baseball recruiting, it's not cheap to follow it because it's hard to follow. Perfect Game is definitely not cheap. StreamYard to get it, not cheap. Any of that stuff, but it is what it is. It's a fun thing to do. It's definitely fun to do this. And this thing, man, it's about to really amp up with basketball starting. Of course, basketball today come in 12th in the first AP poll.
Yeah, we were.
Ken Palm has them 13th. I seen Jimmy Dykes had them 5th. I'll probably bring some content maybe tomorrow evening on that. Basketball starting up. Lady Vols getting ready to start up. We're going all in on that on here. I mean, baseball, fall ball's going on. I've not even got to cover any softball. What is it they're playing right now? Is it just scrimmages or is it some kind of like fall league or?
I think it's a fall league.
Yeah, because they're playing quite a few games and stuff. But yeah, I mean, this thing's about to amp up pretty big, especially with basketball right around the corner. So, if you're looking on YouTube for basketball, baseball, this is the place for it. And then looking, there's a good possibility to be live after the Bama game this weekend. I know you'll be at the game, but and we'll have Backwoods back some. He had an obligation tonight, but he'll be back with us some moving forward as well. Lots of stuff going, but Bama game this weekend. I've talked about this is just one of them. It's kind of fascinating to me because both teams have been up and down. What can Tennessee take from the Vanderbilt game? What could they find that Vanderbilt was able to do against Bama is what I'm thinking. You look at that tape, where did South Carolina have success against them as well? Where did Georgia have success when they made their comeback with it as well? I mean, it's one of those, the Bama offense, it's going to be the best offense we've faced.
Yes.
How can they contain Milroe is kind of my question. Can they do that? It's going to be really interesting to see. Do you think they can contain Milroe and not let him just go buck wild?
Yes. Considering this season at this point would be a total disaster if it wasn't for this defense. It's going to be harder considering you've lost Pilly, which is that's incredibly heartbreaking. That's that's
Quarterback of your defense, basically.
Yeah, that's one of the more heartbreaking stories that you'll see throughout college football in the next decade. I mean, the kid's just year after year after year. It's been season-ending injuries, which is terrible for him. But unfortunately, we still got to play this week, and you have the best mobile quarterback that we've faced so far. He's an NFL quarterback, whether you want to accept it or not. That's a man that Bill O'Brien looked in the eyes and said, "You're just a running back. Like, you're not even a quarterback." And like he should have, he took that to heart and he turned into a great quarterback. I mean, he's a guy that's impressed me. I saw him. I remember when he was coming in out of games as a backup whenever Bryce Young was there. I think it was Arkansas. They played at Arkansas and they struggled against them. But he came in the game and he was just running buck wild. Like, he was having 70-yard touchdown runs. And that's the reason they won it. Like, I was thinking, like, okay, you can stop this kid easy. Just load the box. Like, he can only run the ball. And then he transformed after the Texas game last year to, like, he changed after that game and he started hitting the deep balls and he's turned into what he is now. I understand that he's struggled so far this season outside of the Wisconsin game, but he's still Jalen Milroe. He's still one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC, in my opinion. I think he was definitely the better quarterback on the field against Georgia. Pavia outplayed him on that night. I still think he's a better quarterback than him. Of course, he's a better quarterback than that's not even an argument. And right now, he's a better quarterback than Nico.
Oh, yeah.
That hurts to say, but you have to take the bias out of it. He's the best quarterback on the field. He's the best athlete on the field. You have to do everything you can to stop him. Does Tennessee do it? I don't know. I think they will just because of the way the defense is played, but he's the difference in winning or losing the game, in my opinion, if you can stop him from running and if you can force the mistakes that you've seen him make this season and the same mistakes that Tennessee forced him last year whenever we went and gave him a ball game in Tuscaloosa.
You mentioned about him being better than Nico, too. Do you think Nico's even a top 10 SEC quarterback right now?
Right now, let's see. Better than Sellers. I'd put him better than Lagway, just because Lagway's still got a lot of road ahead of him. Nussmeier's gotten a lot better. Of course, he's not better than Jackson Dart right now.
I mean, he's better than – I'd put him ahead of Oklahoma's quarterbacks.
Yes, that's true.
I'd put him ahead of
Lagway. He's better than Kentucky's. What's the kid's name? I've completely.
Oh, Vandergriff.
Yeah, Vandergriff. Yeah, Brock. Yeah.
Auburn's quarterbacks are horrible.
See, I didn't even think about them because they're that stinking bad. Better than
Mississippi State.
He's better than Brady Cook right now, in my opinion, too. Better than Texas A&M. I'd put him. He's top 10, but he's probably 8, 9, or 10.
Yeah. He could get up there. Man. He's got a long way to go, and it may be next year, possibly. But I'm curious to see his growth as the year goes along too, and gets through this week, and then you got a bye week. You could see a lot of growth sometimes coming out, especially a second bye week for it. I expect to see that latter part of the schedule. Georgia will be tough. Georgia's still going to be tough to go down there and beat. The rest of the games are winnable on that schedule. I mean, the Vanderbilt one, I would have never imagined it. That's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game. Vanderbilt's playing some good football this year. And, we'll see if they keep playing their brand of football they're playing now, or are they will they regress as the year goes along? But, I mean, right now seeing them, I think Vanderbilt it'll be a tough game. Kentucky, I think we can drill Kentucky. Mississippi State, same thing. But Mississippi State, I mean, they put some points on Georgia this past weekend. So
I'm still not concerned about Mississippi State.
Yeah. I'm not either.
Mississippi State.
I wanted to look at the stats here for Alabama because I've not really looked at theirs this year. I think I'm glad it's a 3:30 game.
Yeah,
I'm glad of that.
It would be cold. The high on Saturday, 70 degrees. So it's a cold week this week in Knoxville, considering the
cold
weather we've had. Yeah,
70?
I mean it's no, I'm just saying like this week in general. Like it's tomorrow's a high 50 something, and the next few days after that it's a high 50 something. So it's a little cooler in Knoxville. To me, it's cold. You can put me outside in 60 degrees and I'll be cold, but that's just me. So
yeah, it'd be a pretty nice day. Well, when that sun goes down, though, that's when it'll start to get a little bit cold.
I still think that's the best weather that's the best weather you could possibly ask for this time of year. As the third Saturday in October, 70 degrees, sunny and 70, 3:30 game. It'd be perfect.
Yeah, it's better than that August heat. It's
that was brutal.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. But
I would never wish that again on anybody else.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game Saturday. I'm curious to see if Tennessee, if their offense improves anymore. Looking at stats, of course, Milrose thrown for 1,483, 12 TDs, 4 interceptions. He's been sacked 11 times. He is Jam Miller is their leading rusher. Milrose right behind it, though.
Mm-hmm.
So Miller, 5 touchdowns. Milrose got 11 rushing touchdowns. And then it got Justice Haynes. Receiving, of course, you got Ryan Williams. I'm guessing that'll be a case of whoever's on him, whether they don't really put one particular guy on him. So,
no, they don't.
It'll be whatever side he's on. But, I mean, that's going to be McCoy and Ricky Gibson and probably Boo. It'll be up to them. See what they can do with him. Look at their defense. I'm trying to see here. Who they got for interception? They got a couple guys with multiple interceptions. Robinson, their linebacker, 4 sacks. He's the guy to watch out for. 14 sacks total on the year for them through. Have they had a bye week yet?
Yes, they had a bye week before the Georgia game because both them and Georgia had a bye week going into that one.
That's right. Okay, so through 5 games, they've had 14 sacks. I mean, I don't know, nothing.
But then again, their defense hasn't. Their defense is a mark for them so far. So, I mean, Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I mean, their defense gave up, 40 to Vandy?
Over 40 to Vandy, yeah.
34, I think it was, to Georgia.
Yep.
I mean, just kind of looking.
5 to South Carolina. So, and Tennessee hasn't gave up over 20. So,
no, 19. That was the highest one.
Arkansas. Yep.
So far. I mean, does
that end this week, do you think?
Which one?
The 20. Tennessee stopping.
I think so.
Under 20. Okay.
I think so.
I agree.
I'd be surprised. We held them under 20 this week.
If Tennessee held them under 20 and loses the game 17-14, would you still be mad at the defense?
Yeah, no, not the defense. I wouldn't.
Okay.
No, I mean, unless they give up that, if it's 14-10 and then they go down score at the end again or something, I'd be questioning what's going on that's happened 3 weeks in a row. But no, 17-14. But I mean, I don't know. They gave up 19 against Arkansas, and I didn't think the defense was. I thought it was fine. I mean, it was bend don't break that night.
Yeah,
and they had some of those moments against Florida too. They just had the big turnover at the goal line and some plays, but they definitely. No, that would totally be offense for me, 17-14, because it could be. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either.
I don't know that Tennessee can score 20 points right now is the only thing about it. But the fact that South Carolina did on Bama gives me some confidence.
Yeah, especially considering it was in Tuscaloosa.
It was in Tuscaloosa, and I still think Tennessee's offense is a lot better than South Carolina's is.
Yep, and that's a South Carolina offense that just got shut down by Ole Miss.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. They scored, 6 points against Ole Miss, and that was at home?
Yeah, something like that.
So, I mean, I mean, it's I don't know. I don't really know how to go with this game this
I
week,
don't
just
either.
because both
I really don't.
teams have been pretty
Bad.
similar. Yeah, they've been the last 2 weeks. They have. I mean, it's hard to believe that Bama beat Georgia. It is really hard to believe that the same Bama team that beat Georgia then loses to Vandy, which they look pretty good,
Mhm.
and then good case that South Carolina could be. And I'm not impressed with South Carolina, but I think again, South Carolina had a quarterback. They'd probably be a
Yep.
whole lot better, but they're playing a redshirt freshman. Also, he's going to make mistakes. But we'll see on that one. What do you want to go ahead and make predictions, or is there? I'm trying to think. Is there any aspect of this I've not hit because it's? I mean, Ryan Williams. I think you've got to account for him.
Yeah.
He and Milrow are the two that scare me.
Mhm.
I don't think I'm worried about their running game that much. I mean, their leading guy 360. I mean, yeah, for just 7.1 per carry. That's pretty good though.
Yeah. Jim Miller's pretty good. He's a good running back.
I mean, Haynes, I'm thinking he was a pretty big time recruit coming in. I mean, which most of Bama's roster is. But Milrow is his running ability is what, can we get, say, 11 sacks, which is what they're giving up over 2 per game. So that's encouraging. And the fact that Florida had only given up 5 and we got 3, that probably could have had more, actually, if they would have contained the quarterback. But if that offense is that close, if they're that close, did they? You mentioned the second half; it was different play calling. I mean, we see them get to overtime, and they're all of a sudden just guns a-blazing. And I don't know. Well, let's just go ahead and make some predictions. I think I'm just off of it to that. But what do you think? 3:30 Saturday. You'll be there once again. You'll probably have your long johns on because you'll be cold in that 70-degree weather.
Yeah, I'll bring out the thermal suit. Gonna freeze to death.
Nealon will be rocking.
Nealon will be absurd. Like the environment this Saturday. It'll play a huge factor in the game this week. I mean, it played a huge factor against Alabama. I mean, little Kaysen stole the show with his dance moves. That was awesome. Have you seen that kid?
Yeah.
He probably was on the Jumbotron a minimum of 5 different times throughout the game. Like, dude just kept him coming with the dance moves. We were getting beat 10-0, and he was still putting a smile on my face. So I'm really appreciative of him.
Yeah, they showed him on ESPN too.
Yeah, because I mean, he kept Tennessee fans happy for a majority of that game. I mean, we were getting whooped by Florida at home against a not so good Florida team, and I don't know how old he is. Kid's breaking out the dance moves better than me and you both, and he's putting smiles on everybody, and we're all loving it. So he definitely changed the environment. The Florida players were watching it. They loved it too. They were all smiling. They were cheering them on. So was the Tennessee players on the Tennessee sideline. So it definitely got everybody involved. So that was great to see. And that's another thing this week of how's the fans going to impact the game. You saw it in 2022. That's still iconic. It's still burned in my brain of Bryce Young being backed up in the end zone and the chaos that ensured there. We can make a huge impact on the game Saturday. I mean, this is a team with a brand new coach. Saban's no longer there, which is it's absurd to think that we're in this new era of college football where Nick Saban's no longer a coach. We don't know what to expect from DeBoer. This is essentially his first road game. I mean, you can count Vanderbilt, but then again, they had their entire side of the stadium was all red. So they lost that game too, which is just absurd. They basically played a home game and they lost. And now the next road game they get is in Neyland Stadium. And the entire game on Saturday, it's going to be over 120 some decibels. Like, I think we set the record last year against Georgia. It was like 130 something. Like we're hitting over 130 again this week. It's a madhouse, in my opinion. It was on this past Saturday night against Florida, I think. And at times, I think that the crowd wasn't that big of a factor in the first half. I think that they weren't truly there at times. Rocky still has a text from me that says, I don't think the crowd's that loud. And then they did it in the second half. So I think first half of this game, the crowd makes a huge impact. I think that plays a huge difference in the game. If you can buy a ticket, like I said earlier in the show, spend the money. You won't regret it. Tennessee, of course, I have to pick them to win. My score predictions, absolutely wrong. I said they were going to score over 35 last week, and they didn't even sniff 20 until overtime. So this week, I thought about it last night. Tennessee wins this year again by another field goal, 27-24.
I'm done on that one then. That was about what I was going to pick. So
it has to be in the 20s. Like, I don't see how it's not in the 20s.
I actually think I was going to go the exact same score, but I'll change it a little bit on you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Tennessee because it's at home. If it were on the road, I probably wouldn't have picked them. I wouldn't have picked them last week either if they hadn't have been at home. I think I like the 3:30, and I think it's better too because people are not. It's about that right amount of time. You still get your tailgating in, you get your food in, and everything. You're feeling pretty good at 3:30. 7 o'clock's a long time to wait for a football, or even 7:30 is, and there's a lot of day to kill for that one. 3:30. I think everybody will be fired up. Like you said, DeBoer's really first true road game. Jalen Milroe he didn't know. It's still Bryce Young 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it'll be Milroe's first time playing in Neyland. How can they rattle him as well? I'm curious to see how Tennessee going to answer with Pilley being out. But I mean, they had what was that the first quarter? He went out hurt last week.
Yeah, it was. It was
definitely first half.
Yeah, I know.
So I mean, so they got some game time with him in. I'm going to go a little different just because you stole my pick, but I'm going to go Tennessee. Or I'm going to go 23-20. I'm going to 20. That's a weird score, but I'm going to say we're going to get a few field goals out of it. 23-20. That's where I'm going on it. I said 21-17 last week, and then when I did a prediction or I was talking a little bit about the recruiting in the game, and I switched it to 20-17. I thought I was going to hit it right on the head, but they had to get aggressive, go get a touchdown. Bob Franklin, the Outlaws hype man. Thank you, Bob. Just getting in basketball season about here. My evenings are tied. Still got falls on this one. Hype boy is pissed. Yeah, I think he was. I liked his demeanor, how he talked about the offense. Somebody earlier, Logan mentioned earlier in the chat about you can tell he's pretty aggravated about this offense right now, and I think they'll make some more plays. I could see him possibly getting to the 30s this week if they put a couple things together. But it's going to have to be quick. They're going to have to be quick stuff. And Nico makes the reads. He's got to, and they talk about it, he's a student. I mean, he's going back and looking at it. It's just they need a quick start. They need a quick start. I mean, 2 games in a row, no points in the first half. How big would it be for this team if they go down? If Tennessee gets the ball first Saturday and they go down and score a touchdown right off the bat, how much do you think this helps them?
I think, that offense is into it. You need the offense to get back on track. The offensive line had a good first series. The crowd's now rowdy. Everything lines up for Tennessee. My optimism would be through the roof at that moment, unfortunately. So that makes for a very anxious rest of the game, which it was a very anxious game this past Saturday. A lot of emotions. There'll be a lot of emotions this Saturday, no matter where you are. But if you march down the field and score 7, which is something that we haven't seen this season against an SEC opponent, especially considering we haven't done it, and you do it against Bama, that's a great start. that's ideal. That's a dream scenario to start the game, in my opinion.
They've not scored on the first drive against any of the Power 4 teams, have they? Because they didn't
Nope.
score against NC State either on the first drive.
Nope.
They had to punt. They've scored against
Which doesn't
Chattanooga
make that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, you would think that Heupel has the first drive schemed up well enough to where he could get some first downs and get moving and score. Florida was a sign of the promised land of he moved the ball and Nico just happened to fumble it. So there's at least a step in the right direction. I'm okay with him fumbling it last week if we score 7 points on the first drive this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I actually thought he made a good read on it.
I did too.
He would have had a chance, because I was saying on a couple of those runs, like, man, if he would keep it one time here, he's going to have some room. There was a guy waiting, but I don't think the guy was just directly at him. I think he would have had a shot to get some yards, but I want to see the rollouts. I want to see some of that stuff we saw in overtime where they went quick. I didn't mind those. Just something to help him out. Just something to help him out because, yeah, I mean, it's this is it. Got to stop shooting ourselves in the foot. That's the bottom line there. That's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what's happening there. What's up, Kyle Beach? Good to see you, man. Thanks for the compliments. Doing a great job. Keep up the good work. We appreciate that. Kyle says 24-21 Tennessee. Bob says he's got a good feeling about this first good feeling he's had against an SEC team. I like it. I like it. I think his team will take care of business this week at home. And then they get an off week, and then they're right back at it against Kentucky. It'd probably be a good time to have an off week to set around a little bit. But, yeah, but I think we're going to wrap up on that one. We appreciate you guys coming in here tonight. Make sure you like, you share, you subscribe to the channel. Like I said, there's getting ready. It's about to amp up big time with basketball starting up soon. Baseball, fall ball in full effect. I mean, we're that's kind of the house's time. That's kind of when the House of Orange rolls, because it's like, I get it with football. There's a lot of football coverage out there. Baseball, definitely not a lot, and basketball, not as much either. This is we got you covered here. We got you covered. Everything will be on it. From here, we're a year-round channel pretty much. We take a break, and you don't even get much of a break in the summer because then it's time for football then. But thank you guys for tuning in with us tonight. We're going to wrap up on that one. I'll keep you posted. My thought right now is probably going live Saturday after the game and maybe doing that moving forward. Seems to be a pretty good opportunity to grow the channel some. It worked out pretty good. Even though the Arkansas result was not what we wanted, it was still a little growth period for the channel and helped out. But you guys have a good rest of the evening. He's Kerry. I'm Frank. We're the House of Sports Channel. Have a great evening and go Vols.